Pickup trucks are built to be tough, practical, and ready for anything. But not every design hits the mark. Some are so weird, impractical, or downright ridiculous that you have to wonder, what were they thinking? Today we're diving into the stupidest pickups of all time. Trucks so absurd you won't believe they actually existed. From laughable designs to features no one asked for, these pickups are in a league of their own. Buckle up for a ride through the most head-scratching moments in truck history. Let's roll. The 1961 Chevrolet Corvair Rampside was one of the more unusual vehicles produced during the Corvair's turbulent and controversial run. It combined the Corvair platform's innovative rear-engine layout with a unique feature, a side-loading ramp that made loading and unloading cargo much easier. On paper, the Rampside seemed like a practical and forward-thinking solution for small businesses and utility needs. However, its execution was plagued by the same fundamental issues that haunted the Corvair line as a whole, compounded by additional problems specific to its design and purpose. At the core of the Rampside's issues was its use of the Corvair's rear-engine platform. The flat-six air-cooled engine was located behind the rear axle, a setup that was intended to free up interior space and improve weight distribution. Unfortunately, this configuration caused significant handling problems, particularly when the vehicle was carrying uneven or heavy loads. The rear-engine design made the Rampside prone to oversteer and instability in sharp turns or emergency maneuvers, especially when the cargo weight wasn't perfectly balanced. These handling quirks were dangerous enough in the Corvair cars, but in a utility vehicle like the Rampside, where heavy and awkward cargo loads were common, the instability became a major liability. The engine itself was another source of disappointment. The Rampside was powered by a flat-six engine that produced 80 horsepower in its base form. While this engine was acceptable for the smaller Corvair cars, it was woefully underpowered for a utility vehicle. Carrying a full load of cargo or climbing hills often proved too much for the small engine, resulting in sluggish performance and frustrated owners. Compounding the issue was the lack of torque, a critical factor for a vehicle designed to haul goods. The Rampside's engine simply didn't have the low-end grunt needed for heavy lifting, making it an impractical choice for many of the tasks it was ostensibly designed to handle. The Rampside's unique feature, its side-loading ramp, was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it was a genuinely innovative idea that made loading and unloading cargo easier, especially for heavy items like appliances or equipment. However, the inclusion of the ramp created compromises elsewhere. The ramp mechanism added weight and complexity to the vehicle, further straining the underpowered engine. It also reduced the structural rigidity of the truck bed, limiting its overall durability. Additionally, the ramp design meant the Rampside had less traditional cargo space than competitors, which often featured more straightforward and robust designs. While the ramp was novel, it wasn't enough to outweigh the vehicle's other shortcomings. Safety concerns also played a significant role in the Rampside's eventual demise. The Corvair line as a whole had come under intense scrutiny for its handling issues, thanks in large part to Ralph Nader's infamous book, Unsafe at Any Speed. The Rampside shared the same rear suspension design as early Corvair cars, which used swing axles that could lead to sudden and unpredictable handling behavior. This was exacerbated by the fact that many owners of utility vehicles like the Rampside were not as focused on careful driving as passenger car owners might have been. The combination of the rear-engine layout, swing axle suspension, and heavy cargo loads created a recipe for disaster, leading to a reputation for being difficult and even dangerous to drive. Styling and practicality were also points of contention for the Rampside. While its forward control design, where the driver sits above the front axle, gave it a distinctive appearance, it wasn't particularly attractive or inviting. The cab was cramped, with limited legroom and an awkward driving position. The flat windshield and upright seating added to the utilitarian feel, but didn't do much for driver comfort. For buyers who wanted a more versatile and comfortable utility vehicle, competitors like the Ford Econoline or Dodge A100 offered better options, with more traditional layouts and fewer compromises. The Rampside was also hampered by its poor marketing and positioning. Chevrolet struggled to clearly define its target audience. Was the Rampside meant for small business owners? Families who needed a versatile second vehicle? Contractors? The lack of a clear identity hurt its appeal, and buyers gravitated toward more conventional utility vehicles that didn't come with the same baggage as the Corvair name. Additionally, the Rampside's pricing wasn't low enough to make up for its perceived shortcomings, leaving it in a no-man's land where it was neither cheap enough to be a budget option nor good enough to compete with premium rivals. In hindsight, the 1961 Chevrolet Corvair Rampside was a vehicle with an interesting concept that was ultimately doomed by poor execution and bad timing. The 1947 Crosley CC pickup is a prime example of how ambition can sometimes outpace practicality. Conceived during an era of post-war innovation and economic recovery, the CC pickup aimed to fill a niche for an affordable, lightweight utility vehicle. However, it quickly became apparent that this micro-sized truck failed to meet the basic expectations of a pickup, making it an unusual footnote in automotive history rather than a practical tool for its intended audience. The first thing that stands out about the Crosley CC pickup is its size, or rather, its lack thereof. Measuring just over 145 inches in length, it was dwarfed by even the smallest trucks of its day. Its cargo bed was so tiny that it bordered on impractical for serious hauling. While it could carry light loads such as groceries or small tools, anything more substantial was out of the question. This severely limited its appeal to buyers who needed a truck for traditional utility purposes, such as farming, construction, or even light industrial work. For context, its bed could accommodate little more than what might fit in the trunk of a compact sedan, rendering it less of a pickup and more of a novelty. Under the hood, the Crosley CC pickup was powered by a minuscule 26 horsepower, 7/24 cc four-cylinder engine. While Crosley had made strides in engineering lightweight, fuel-efficient engines, the power plant was woefully inadequate for a truck. Acceleration was sluggish, and the truck struggled to reach even modest highway speeds, let alone carry a payload while doing so. The lack of torque, a critical attribute for any truck, was particularly glaring. Owners found that the CC pickup could barely handle inclines, let alone the demands of towing or carrying heavier loads. The engine's origins in Crosley's lineup of tiny passenger cars became all too evident, and it simply wasn't up to the task of powering a vehicle that aspired to perform any kind of serious utility work. Build quality was another area where the Crosley CC pickup fell short. The lightweight construction that made Crosley cars innovative in terms of fuel efficiency became a liability when applied to a pickup truck. The thin steel body was prone to dents and damage, and the overall structure lacked the ruggedness expected of a utility vehicle. This fragility limited its lifespan, especially when subjected to the rigors of daily use on farms, construction sites, or even rough roads. While Crosley's emphasis on affordability was commendable, the compromises made in durability undermined the CC pickup's ability to serve as a reliable workhorse. The truck's styling also left much to be desired. While its compact proportions gave it a certain quirky charm, the overall design was utilitarian to a fault. The upright cab, flat grille, and small, awkward wheels made it look more like a toy than a serious vehicle. This might have appealed to a niche audience looking for a novelty item, but it failed to resonate with buyers seeking a practical and versatile truck. The CC pickup lacked the rugged, commanding presence that other pickups of the era, such as the Ford F-Series or Chevrolet Advanced Design, brought to the table. In an era when trucks were often symbols of strength and utility, the Crosley's diminutive appearance did little to inspire confidence. Practicality aside, the Crosley CC pickup also suffered from poor market timing. By the late 1940s, the U.S. economy was booming, and consumers were gravitating toward larger, more powerful vehicles that could handle the post-war infrastructure expansion and suburbanization. Full-size trucks were in high demand, and the Crosley's tiny size and limited capabilities made it feel like a relic of pre-war austerity rather than a forward-thinking solution. The truck's niche appeal simply wasn't enough to sustain strong sales in a market that had moved on. That's not to say the Crosley CC pickup was entirely without merit. It was affordable, costing significantly less than full-size pickups, and its fuel efficiency was exceptional for the time. For city dwellers or small business owners with minimal hauling needs, the Crosley offered a low-cost alternative to larger, gas-guzzling trucks. However, this limited use case wasn't enough to justify its existence in a market dominated by vehicles that could do much more for only a slightly higher price. In hindsight, the Crosley CC pickup can be seen as a bold experiment that simply didn't pan out. It was a vehicle that tried to be many things: a truck, an affordable utility vehicle, a compact urban hauler, but ended up excelling at none of them. While it holds a certain nostalgic charm today among collectors and enthusiasts, it serves as a reminder of the importance of balancing innovation with practicality. The Crosley CC pickup might have been a truck in name, but in reality, it was little more than a scaled-up toy with aspirations it couldn't quite fulfill. The 1957 Ford Ranchero was a bold and unconventional vehicle for its time, blending the lines between a car and a truck in a way that had rarely been seen before. Introduced as a stylish alternative to traditional pickups, the Ranchero was based on Ford's full-size sedan platform, giving it a sleeker look and better on-road comfort. However, its car-based origins ultimately proved to be its Achilles heel, as it struggled to deliver the utility and durability that truck buyers expected. One of the Ranchero's defining features, its car-like styling, was also one of its main limitations. The Ranchero borrowed heavily from the Ford Fairlane's design, which made it an attractive vehicle compared to the boxy pickups of the era. This was a double-edged sword. While it appealed to suburban buyers who wanted a practical vehicle with a touch of elegance, it alienated traditional truck buyers who valued ruggedness over aesthetics. The Ranchero's unibody construction, while innovative, lacked the toughness of the body-on-frame design used by most trucks of the time, making it less suitable for heavy-duty work. The cargo bed, while functional, was another area where the Ranchero fell short. Its car-based platform meant that the bed was smaller and less capable than that of a standard pickup. It could handle light loads, groceries, small tools, or garden supplies, but anything heavier or bulkier quickly revealed its limitations. The payload capacity was modest at best, and the bed's design was not robust enough to withstand the demands of construction sites, farming, or other rugged applications. Buyers looking for a true workhorse were left disappointed. Under the hood, the Ranchero came with a variety of engine options, ranging from a modest inline-six to a V8. While these engines provided decent performance on paved roads, they weren't particularly well suited for the type of low-end torque needed for hauling heavy loads or navigating rough terrain. Additionally, the rear-wheel drive setup, combined with the car-based suspension, meant the Ranchero struggled to maintain traction on unpaved or uneven surfaces, a significant drawback for anyone planning to use it in rural or off-road environments. The interior, while comfortable and well-appointed for a vehicle with truck aspirations, further underscored the Ranchero's identity crisis. Borrowing directly from Ford's passenger cars, the cabin offered a level of refinement that was uncommon in pickups of the era. Plush seating, stylish trim, and optional features like a radio or heater made it an appealing choice for buyers who valued comfort. However, this focus on luxury came at the expense of practicality. The Ranchero lacked the utilitarian simplicity that truck buyers often preferred, making it feel out of place in environments where durability and ease of maintenance were critical. In terms of marketing, the Ranchero was a bit of a puzzle. Ford pitched it as a two-in-one vehicle, a car for comfort and a truck for utility. While this dual-purpose appeal was innovative, it failed to fully satisfy either category. For truck buyers, it wasn't rugged or capable enough to replace a standard pickup. For car buyers, the open cargo bed made it less practical than a sedan or station wagon for everyday family use. This left the Ranchero in a niche market, appealing mainly to suburban buyers who wanted something different, but didn't have serious hauling or work-related needs. Durability was another issue that plagued the Ranchero. The suspension, drivetrain, and overall build quality were designed with passenger car use in mind, not the rigorous demands of a truck. Over time, owners who attempted to use the Ranchero for heavy-duty tasks found it wearing out faster than traditional pickups. This reputation for fragility made it less appealing to buyers who needed a reliable vehicle for work. Despite its shortcomings, the Ranchero did find some success and even spawned imitators, most notably the Chevrolet El Camino. It also holds an important place in automotive history as one of the first vehicles to blur the lines between cars and trucks, paving the way for modern crossovers and car-based utility vehicles. However, in its time, the 1957 Ford Ranchero struggled to justify itself as a practical alternative to either traditional pickups or passenger cars. It was a stylish experiment that appealed to a niche audience, but ultimately lacked the substance to compete in a market that demanded vehicles with clear, uncompromising roles. Today, it's remembered more as a novelty and a collectible than as a groundbreaking success. The 1963 Jeep FC150 forward control was one of the most unusual vehicles in Jeep's history, embodying a bold and unconventional approach to the pickup truck. Its cab-over-engine, COE design, a feature that places the driver's seat directly above the engine, set it apart from most other trucks of its era. While the concept was rooted in practicality, providing more cargo space and a compact footprint, the execution left much to be desired. The FC150 was a peculiar mix of innovation and impracticality that resulted in a vehicle that was more quirky than functional. The most glaring issue with the Jeep FC150 was its stability, or rather, its lack of it. The COE design, while giving the truck a short and stubby look, created significant weight distribution problems. By positioning the driver's seat and engine directly over the front axle, the FC150 suffered from poor balance, especially when loaded with cargo. The heavy front end, combined with a relatively light rear, made the truck prone to oversteering and tipping under certain conditions, particularly when cornering or driving on uneven surfaces. The stability issues were worsened by the truck's high center of gravity, which made it particularly susceptible to rollovers. The lack of traditional truck architecture, where the engine is positioned further away from the cab, resulted in a vehicle that lacked the low-slung, grounded feel that most truck drivers sought. The unusual design of the FC150 also made the truck feel awkward to drive. The cab-over layout resulted in a cramped and uncomfortable driving position, with limited visibility and a steering wheel that sat unusually high in relation to the driver's seat. The driving experience, which was already compromised by the truck's instability, was further hindered by the odd ergonomics of the cab, making it uncomfortable for extended periods behind the wheel. For a vehicle that was designed to be used in rugged environments, where long hours behind the wheel were common, the lack of comfort and practicality was a major drawback. Performance was another area where the FC150 fell short. Under the hood, the truck was equipped with a small 72 horsepower inline-4 engine that was more than sufficient for light off-roading, but woefully underpowered for carrying heavy loads. While the truck could handle lighter duties, such as transporting tools or small equipment, its engine struggled when asked to pull or carry anything substantial. The lack of power was especially apparent when driving uphill or off-road, where the FC150 simply didn't have the muscle to keep up with more conventional trucks. The smaller engine, paired with the awkward weight distribution, meant that the FC150 lacked the towing capacity and overall capability that many truck buyers were looking for. Another downside was the FC150's aesthetics, or lack thereof. The cab-over-engine design made the truck look even more top-heavy than it was, and its squat, boxy proportions made it seem cartoonish rather than rugged. While Jeep's design philosophy at the time was geared towards utility and function, the FC150's strange looks alienated many potential buyers. It was simply too odd and impractical for most truck enthusiasts to embrace, and its unconventional appearance made it feel like a vehicle from a different era rather than a modern pickup designed for real-world use. The lack of a conventional truck bed, combined with the front-heavy design, made it feel more like an unfinished prototype than a finished product ready for production. The FC150's off-road capability, which was one of Jeep's key selling points, didn't fully compensate for its shortcomings. While the truck did come with Jeep's legendary four-wheel drive system, the high center of gravity and lack of balance meant that it didn't perform as well in rugged environments as other Jeep models or traditional trucks. The small engine also hindered the truck's ability to tackle challenging terrain, leaving it struggling where other vehicles would thrive. Despite these flaws, the Jeep FC150 did have a niche appeal. Its compact size and versatility made it attractive to certain industries that needed a vehicle that could navigate tight spaces or handle light-duty work. The truck found a following in areas like agriculture, construction, and even postal delivery, where the compact design could be an asset. However, for the majority of potential buyers, the FC150 simply didn't deliver on the practicality and reliability that trucks were expected to provide. Ultimately, the 1963 Jeep FC150 was a vehicle that aimed to challenge traditional truck design, but ended up falling short in nearly every department. Its cab-over-engine configuration created serious handling issues, while its small engine and strange design made it difficult to use for serious work. Though it certainly had its quirks, the FC150 was too impractical and unstable to become a truly successful vehicle. The 1959 Chevrolet El Camino holds a unique place in automotive history as the first of its kind, a car-based pickup that attempted to combine the practicality of a truck with the comfort and style of a passenger car. Inspired by the Ford Ranchero, the El Camino was Chevrolet's answer to the growing demand for vehicles that could serve dual purposes: a car for everyday use and a truck for light-duty hauling. However, much like its rival, the Ranchero, the first-generation El Camino had its fair share of shortcomings that kept it from truly succeeding in its intended role. At the heart of the El Camino's problems was its car-based construction. Built on the Chevrolet Impala's full-size passenger car platform, the El Camino shared much of the same engineering and design as the sedan, which limited its utility as a truck. While the El Camino's bed did offer some cargo capacity, it was smaller and less rugged than the beds found on true pickup trucks, making it inadequate for heavy-duty hauling or work purposes. The bed's construction, though practical for light use, couldn't withstand the wear and tear of transporting heavier loads or rough handling in a way that a more traditional truck could. This limitation meant that the El Camino was never truly a truck in the sense that most people expected. It was more a compromise, offering some of the utility of a truck, but at the cost of the strength and durability required for serious work. In addition to its limited hauling capabilities, the El Camino was hindered by the same car-based suspension and drivetrain that defined its sedan siblings. While this made the vehicle ride more smoothly on highways and urban streets compared to a traditional pickup, it also made the El Camino less capable off-road and less reliable under heavy use. The car's suspension wasn't designed for the weight of a full cargo bed, and the truck's frame, while sturdy for a car, couldn't handle the stresses that come with constant loading and unloading, particularly for owners who expected to use it as a work vehicle. As a result, the El Camino was better suited for light hauling and occasional use rather than heavy-duty tasks. The El Camino's styling, while certainly striking, also left much to be desired in terms of utility. Chevrolet tried to strike a balance between ruggedness and style, but the result was a vehicle that often looked more like a stylish sedan with a truck bed attached rather than a truly functional pickup. The wide, expansive front end, large chrome accents, and sweeping body lines all screamed style, but they didn't contribute much to the vehicle's performance or practicality. Unlike true trucks, the El Camino's design emphasized aesthetics, making it look like a car that happened to have a bed at the back rather than a purposeful vehicle designed to serve work-related needs. The 1959 El Camino was also plagued by some mechanical issues typical of cars of the time. The car's performance, while decent for everyday driving, didn't lend itself to heavy-duty tasks. The engine options ranged from a small V8 to the larger 348 cubic inch V8, but even the most powerful engine wasn't enough to transform the El Camino into a serious hauler. Its weight-to-power ratio was far less optimal than that of a true pickup truck, and the drivetrain wasn't as robust, which meant that it wasn't able to haul as much or endure the kind of heavy loads that trucks were designed for. It was much more of a casual urban vehicle rather than a workhorse for farmers, contractors, or anyone who needed to use a truck as a daily tool. Another issue was the El Camino's price. While it was marketed as a dual-purpose vehicle, offering the comfort of a car and the utility of a truck, the price tag didn't exactly make it an easy sell. Buyers had to pay a premium for the convenience of a vehicle that could do a little of both, but couldn't do either particularly well. For the cost of an El Camino, many buyers could have opted for a full-size pickup truck with far greater durability and utility, or a sedan and a separate truck for the same price. While the first-generation El Camino did find a niche audience, Among buyers who appreciated its car-like comfort combined with some light-duty capability, it never truly delivered on the promise of a working car. The vehicle's design, limited hauling capacity, and inability to live up to the tough standards of a traditional truck left it unable to replace or compete with more established pickup models in terms of practicality. Though the El Camino would go on to become an iconic nameplate in later years, its first-generation model remains a reminder of the challenges involved in trying to blend two very different types of vehicles, style and substance, into one package. In the end, the 1959 Chevrolet El Camino, like its rival, the Ford Ranchero, was a vehicle of compromise. It was stylish but lacked the utility of a true truck. The 1940 Willys pickup stands out as a somewhat ill-conceived entry into the competitive world of American pickup trucks, offering a mix of underwhelming performance, awkward design, and lackluster utility that quickly made it obsolete when compared to its competitors. Though it aimed to be a practical, affordable work vehicle for farmers and small businesses, the Willys pickup fell short in almost every area that mattered to buyers looking for a reliable, durable truck. One of the key reasons the Willys pickup was considered stupid was its small size. Built on the same platform as the Willys Jeep, the pickup had a notably compact frame that didn't lend itself to the hauling and heavy-duty work that most truck buyers expected. With a small wheelbase and a bed that was limited in size, it lacked the cargo capacity to take on the typical tasks of a full-size pickup, such as transporting large loads or handling demanding work conditions. While its diminutive size may have been an advantage for maneuverability in tight spaces, it made the Willys pickup less useful for most of the common applications that pickups were designed for, limiting its appeal in a market that demanded tough, versatile trucks. Under the hood, the Willys pickup was equipped with an underpowered engine, further reinforcing its reputation as a lackluster workhorse. The standard engine was a four-cylinder unit that produced around 60 horsepower, an adequate output for a small car, but woefully inadequate for a truck. The lack of power made the Willys pickup sluggish, especially when attempting to carry any significant load. The truck struggled to maintain highway speeds and had a hard time navigating hilly terrain or even some of the tougher off-road conditions for which it was originally intended. When put to work hauling or towing, the engine often faltered and the performance suffered, making it difficult to rely on the Willys pickup for any serious work. In terms of design, the Willys pickup's appearance left much to be desired. Though it featured a somewhat rugged, utilitarian design, it was also awkward and unrefined. The front end, with its high grille and compact proportions, seemed more like an afterthought than a purposeful design. The small, upright fenders and the short, stubby truck bed gave it an unbalanced look, further detracting from its appeal. The pickup's design didn't offer the clean lines and modern look of its competitors, such as the Ford or Chevrolet pickups, which were already dominating the market in terms of both style and utility. The awkwardness of the Willys pickup's design made it feel outdated and unsophisticated, especially when compared to trucks that were not only more powerful but also more aesthetically appealing. Beyond the design and performance shortcomings, the Willys pickup's utility was also limited by its lack of durability. Built with a focus on affordability, it didn't feature the same heavy-duty construction that made other pickups of the era stand up to the rigors of hard work. The lightweight construction and relatively fragile frame couldn't withstand the abuse that came with daily use in harsh conditions. This made the Willys pickup a poor choice for farmers, laborers, or small businesses that needed a truck to last for the long haul. In addition, the Willys pickup was quickly outclassed by its competitors. By 1940, Ford and Chevrolet had established themselves as the dominant players in the pickup market, offering more powerful engines, better design, and superior utility. Even smaller trucks like the Chevrolet 3100 and Ford F1 had more capable engines and larger beds, providing more value for the money. The Willys pickup simply couldn't compete with the established brands, which had a proven track record for reliability and performance. As a result, the Willys pickup failed to gain much traction in the market and didn't hold up as a serious contender against the industry leaders. While the Willys pickup did find some niche applications, such as in the military or for specialized uses like light farming, it was not a serious competitor in the broader truck market. Its small size, underpowered engine, awkward design, and lack of durability made it an impractical choice for most truck buyers at the time. Despite its charm as a quirky vintage truck, the 1940 Willys pickup remains a prime example of a vehicle that couldn't meet the demands of its intended market and was quickly overshadowed by more capable alternatives. Ultimately, the Willys pickup's shortcomings in performance, design, and utility meant that it could never truly fulfill the expectations of the pickup truck market. While it may have had its place in history as a small, budget-friendly option, it was far from a workhorse and could not keep up with the growing demands of a rapidly evolving automotive landscape. Its legacy is one of missed potential, and interesting, but ultimately impractical. The 1960 Studebaker Champ is one of those vehicles that showcases how a once promising brand can falter when it loses its way. Studebaker, which had a rich history of producing innovative and high-quality vehicles, was at a crossroads in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The Champ, a new entry into the pickup truck market, was the result of the company attempting to continue in a market segment it wasn't entirely prepared for, and the result was an unpolished, outdated truck that failed to impress both critics and consumers alike. One of the main reasons the Studebaker Champ was considered stupid is because it was essentially cobbled together from older, existing parts, many of which had already seen their heyday. The most glaring example of this was the cab, which was borrowed from the Studebaker Lark sedan. While the Lark had been a popular and compact car, the cab was never designed with the rugged demands of a pickup truck in mind. The Lark's cab was small, relatively low to the ground, and lacked the durability and practicality one might expect from a pickup. This design choice left the Champ feeling cramped and uncomfortable, especially when compared to the more spacious and utilitarian cabs found in other pickups of the time. Beyond the questionable cab, the Studebaker Champ's overall design felt outdated and underwhelming. By the time the Champ was introduced, the pickup truck market had evolved significantly. The designs from Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge had grown larger, more powerful, and more refined. These trucks were becoming more comfortable, offering better features in designs that appealed to the broader needs of consumers. In contrast, the Champ's design was stuck in the past. The body lines were more reminiscent of older trucks, and the overall styling seemed flat and uninspired. While Studebaker tried to present the Champ as a modern truck, its aesthetic and functional elements felt out of place in a rapidly changing automotive landscape. The outdated nature of the Champ wasn't just limited to its appearance. It was also reflected in the truck's performance and features. The Champ's engine options were underwhelming, particularly when compared to what was available from its competitors. The standard engine, a 170 cubic inch six-cylinder, produced just 90 horsepower, far less than the V8-powered engines that were becoming increasingly common in pickup trucks. Even when upgraded to a larger V8, the Champ still lagged behind in terms of power and towing capability, which made it less appealing to people who needed a truck for work or for hauling. The Champ simply didn't have the muscle or versatility of other trucks in its class. Another issue was the lack of refinement in the truck's build quality. While Studebaker had once been known for its attention to detail and engineering, the Champ was built with cost-cutting measures in mind. The quality of the materials used in the construction of the Champ felt cheap, with interior features that were both sparse and unimpressive. The ride quality was rough, and the handling was not up to par with what consumers had come to expect from more refined vehicles, particularly pickups that were becoming increasingly comfortable and capable. This lack of polish made the Champ feel like an afterthought, something that was simply thrown together to compete in a market that had long moved on from the simplicity of earlier trucks. The Studebaker Champ also suffered from timing issues. By 1960, Studebaker was in a financial decline, and the company was already struggling to stay afloat. The Champ, which was supposed to be a key part of the company's future, ended up being a symbol of the brand's inability to adapt to changing consumer tastes in the competitive landscape. It wasn't just that the Champ was poorly executed, it also arrived at a time when the American auto industry was booming with new ideas and innovations, and Studebaker was increasingly out of step with the times. The truck's lack of modern features, its antiquated design, and its failure to deliver the performance or utility expected from a pickup made it a poor choice for consumers who had many better options available. In addition, the Champ's lack of a strong, distinct identity hurt its chances of success. While other truck makers were pouring resources into refining their products and adding new features, Studebaker seemed to be relying on past glories and a desire to make do with what they had. The result was a vehicle that felt like a cheap knockoff of something much more impressive. Buyers were looking for innovation and excitement, and the Champ failed to deliver on either front. Ultimately, the 1960 Studebaker Champ is a textbook example of a vehicle that had a lot of potential but was ultimately weighed down by its company's struggles. Its outdated design, reliance on old parts, lack of performance. The 1955 Dodge C-Series Sweptside is often remembered and is one of the most unusual and misguided attempts by a major automaker to challenge the established norms of the pickup truck market. In many ways, the Sweptside was a bold idea, Dodge's attempt to capture the attention of buyers with a truck that fused style with utility. Unfortunately, this ambitious project ended up missing the mark in both areas, creating a vehicle that was neither as functional nor as stylish as intended. Instead, it became a symbol of how not to blend form with function in the world of pickups. The core problem with the 1955 Dodge C-Series Sweptside was its strikingly odd design. Dodge aimed to create a truck that stood out from the competition, most notably Chevrolet's successful Cameo carrier, which was marketed as a premium, stylish pickup with a focus on comfort and aesthetics. But while the Cameo carrier pulled off this balance successfully, the Sweptside's attempt at combining sleek styling with the rugged practicality of a truck fell short. One of the most glaring aspects of this design misstep was the decision to use station wagon rear fenders. These fenders, which were curved and smooth, looked completely out of place on a vehicle that was supposed to be about utility and strength. In principle, trying to incorporate a bit of station wagon flair into a truck's design wasn't necessarily a terrible idea. After all, the era was marked by experimentation, and automakers were seeking to appeal to a growing segment of consumers who wanted something more refined than the traditional utilitarian truck. The problem with the Sweptside's design was that the station wagon fenders clashed with the truck's overall silhouette. The rounded, smooth lines of the fenders didn't match the more angular and rigid design of the truck's body, creating a disjointed look that failed to resonate with the consumer base. Instead of achieving a sleek, unified design, the Sweptside ended up looking like a mismatch of different automotive elements that didn't belong together. This mismatch didn't just affect the truck's appearance, it also hindered its functionality. Pickup trucks are built to be tough and durable, and the design decisions behind the Sweptside did not prioritize this in a meaningful way. The station wagon fenders, designed for vehicles that weren't meant to bear the weight and stresses of a truck bed, weakened the vehicle's overall structure. In addition, the fender's design didn't enhance the Sweptside's cargo space or make the truck any more useful for people who actually needed it to haul heavy loads or handle rough terrain. If anything, it detracted from the truck's utility, making it feel like more of a novelty than a practical vehicle. While Dodge clearly wanted the Sweptside to be a competitor to the Chevrolet Cameo carrier, it also lacked the same refinement and attention to detail that made the Cameo so appealing. The Cameo offered a well-executed blend of comfort, styling, and function, with a carefully considered design that reflected the needs and desires of the buyer. The Sweptside, in contrast, felt more like an afterthought. Instead of refining a winning formula, Dodge tried to add style elements that weren't needed, which ended up distracting from the core qualities that would have made the truck more practical and desirable. The design also didn't help the Sweptside gain any significant edge in terms of performance. The performance of the Sweptside was similarly unremarkable. Like many trucks of its time, it came with a range of engines, including inline 6-cylinder and V8 options. While these engines were adequate for everyday driving, the truck didn't offer anything remarkable in terms of performance or towing capacity. It wasn't any more powerful or capable than many of its competitors, and it was clear that the focus had been placed on creating a vehicle with an eye-catching appearance, rather than building a truly functional workhorse. While the Sweptside wasn't terrible to drive, it was hard to ignore that other trucks of the same era offered more performance for less money. The Sweptside's status as a gimmick was made even clearer when it became apparent that the truck wasn't offering much in terms of real-world value. Its station wagon-inspired fenders and lack of practical features made it a difficult sell to buyers who were looking for a truck that could serve their needs on a day-to-day basis. Most customers looking for a pickup at the time weren't interested in a stylized vehicle that prioritized design quirks over toughness. What buyers wanted was a truck that could do the job, whether that was hauling materials, towing trailers, or withstanding the demands of hard work. The Sweptside didn't deliver on any of those fronts. Instead of being a robust, functional pickup, it was a truck that was more focused on making a statement. The 1961 International Harvester Travelette stands as an intriguing yet flawed example of automotive ambition, a vehicle that sought to push the boundaries of what a pickup could be, but ultimately missed the mark in several key areas. As an early crew cab pickup, the Travelette was undeniably ahead of its time, attempting to offer a solution for workers who needed a vehicle that could carry both people and cargo. However, despite its innovation, the Travelette's design and performance shortcomings quickly became evident, and its massive size and lackluster execution made it more of a curiosity than a practical vehicle for its intended audience. One of the most glaring issues with the 1961 Travelette was its sheer bulk. While it was certainly large enough to accommodate a crew cab configuration, offering seating for up to 6 people, the vehicle's size became a liability rather than an asset. The Travelette's bulk made it difficult to maneuver and drove up fuel consumption, making it an inefficient choice for those looking for a practical work vehicle. While it could haul passengers and cargo, the vehicle's enormous dimensions made it unwieldy and not suited for tight spaces or city driving. For a pickup truck that was supposed to provide more versatility, the Travelette's size was a problem rather than a solution, and it didn't offer the agility or efficiency that would make it a standout option. Beyond the Travelette's sheer size, its performance was another area where it failed to deliver. Despite being built with heavy-duty components, the vehicle struggled with the kind of power and reliability that would make it a true workhorse. The engine options available at the time were underwhelming for such a large vehicle, with the base model featuring a straight-six engine that, while adequate for everyday tasks, was far from inspiring. When you consider that the Travelette was designed to carry both passengers and cargo, the lack of a more robust engine to handle these demands became a major hindrance to its overall practicality. The truck simply lacked the power-to-weight ratio necessary to make it a successful multi-use vehicle. On top of that, the Travelette's build quality was often called into question. International Harvester was primarily known for manufacturing agricultural and industrial equipment, and while they certainly had experience with tough utilitarian machines, their foray into the pickup market was less refined. The Travelette was poorly constructed when compared to more established competitors like Ford and Chevrolet, and issues with rust, poor fitment, and subpar materials were not uncommon. For a truck that was intended to endure heavy work in tough conditions, these build quality issues made the Travelette less reliable and durable than buyers would have hoped. While the Travelette was undoubtedly a product of its time, trying to be a forward-thinking solution for workers who needed a versatile vehicle that could do both the job of a truck and a family car, it struggled with its own identity. Its combination of a large, unwieldy body and insufficient power made it impractical for everyday use. The decision to create a crew cab pickup with extra seating was ambitious, but the Travelette failed to balance this feature with the utility and performance that made larger trucks desirable. Unlike modern crew cab pickups, which offer both comfort and power, the Travelette's shortcomings left it feeling like a half-baked solution to a problem that was better addressed by later, more refined vehicles. Its massive size also carried with it a steep price tag, making it an impractical choice for many buyers. Those who needed a vehicle for work and family would often turn to other brands, like Ford's F-Series or Chevrolet's Apache, which offered better performance, a more comfortable ride, and a higher degree of reliability. While the Travelette may have been an interesting concept, it ultimately didn't provide the value or practical advantages that its size and design implied. Its lack of refinement, poor performance, and poor handling made it an impractical choice for those in need of a truly reliable crew cab pickup. Despite these flaws, the 1961 International Harvester Travelette did have its moments of interest. It was one of the earliest examples of a crew cab pickup, and for that reason, it holds a certain place in automotive history. However, in terms of practicality, performance, and overall design, it was a far cry from the refined crew cabs that would eventually emerge in later decades. As a result, the Travelette remains a cautionary tale of automotive ambition, an idea ahead of its time but lacking the execution needed to succeed. In the end, the Travelette's massive size and lack of performance made it a poor choice for most buyers. While its early arrival in the crew cab pickup category was noteworthy, the vehicle's impracticality and inefficiency overshadowed its potential. The 1959 Dodge D100 Sweptline is often regarded as a curious chapter in the history of pickup trucks. While Dodge had a long history of producing durable and functional vehicles, the D100 Sweptline came off as a misstep, failing to truly resonate with consumers and leaving little impact in a competitive market. Despite its attempt to combine utility and style, the D100 was saddled with a range of issues that made it forgettable, despite its potential to become a more lasting presence in the world of pickups. One of the most glaring problems with the 1959 Dodge D100 Sweptline was its strange styling. While Dodge had aimed to update its truck lineup with more modern, sleek lines, the D100's proportions ended up looking awkward. The truck's front end was noticeably bulbous and disproportionate compared to the rest of its body, which made it look somewhat comical and unbalanced. The rear end of the truck, with its overly sharp, squared-off tailgate and flat design, felt like an afterthought. The sweeping, angular design elements that Dodge tried to incorporate failed to meld well together, creating a truck that looked neither sleek nor rugged, two key traits that a pickup needed to convey to attract buyers. It wasn't just the proportions of the D100 Sweptline that caused problems. The styling choices themselves were peculiar. Dodge introduced a curved, nearly symmetrical bed design that was intended to give the truck a swept look, but this design ultimately felt odd and out of place. Unlike other pickups of the era, which embraced a more straightforward, functional design, the D100 Sweptline's attempt to blend form with function lacked the harmony and balance required to make the vehicle feel cohesive. The result was a pickup that seemed like it was trying too hard to stand out, but in doing so, it didn't succeed in creating a design that was memorable or attractive in a lasting way. In addition to its awkward styling, the 1959 Dodge D100 Sweptline was also lacking in performance. The truck was offered with a variety of engine options, but none of them were particularly outstanding in terms of power or efficiency. The base six-cylinder engine offered a modest 101 horsepower, which was fine for casual driving, but lacked the punch necessary for a truck that was expected to carry heavy loads or tackle tough work conditions. Even the V8 engine options, while offering a bit more power, still felt underwhelming for a truck of its initiated. Buyers who wanted a more robust and capable vehicle were often left disappointed by the D100's overall lack of muscle. The truck's suspension and handling also didn't make it an ideal choice for heavy-duty work. While it wasn't necessarily bad in terms of ride quality, it was apparent that the D100 was simply too underpowered and inefficient to serve as a dependable workhorse for those who needed a truck to handle serious tasks. When compared to the likes of Ford's F-Series or Chevrolet's Task Force pickups, which offered more advanced technology, better engines, and a stronger reputation for reliability, the D100 Sweptline couldn't compete in the same league. It wasn't designed for those who needed a high-performance truck, and as a result, it couldn't carve out a niche in a market that was becoming more focused on innovation and strength. Another issue with the D100 Sweptline was its overall lack of innovation. Despite its unique styling and the modern touches Dodge tried to incorporate, the truck didn't offer any groundbreaking features that would have made it stand out in a meaningful way. While other trucks of the era were improving their towing capacities, refining their suspension systems, and offering better payload management, the D100 seemed stuck in the past. The truck's performance was underwhelming, and its design choices didn't push the envelope in any way that was truly compelling. It was a vehicle that felt like it was trying to be different for the sake of being different, but without the substance to back it up. Ultimately, the 1959 Dodge D100 Sweptline failed to capture the attention of the consumer market in a lasting way. Its awkward proportions and unrefined design made it stand out for all the wrong reasons. The lack of innovation coupled with mediocre performance prevented it from becoming the truck Dodge had hoped it would be. It was neither an exciting new take on the pickup nor a practical solution for the needs of the working class. Instead, it ended up as an easily forgettable vehicle that, despite its attempt to be unique, failed to leave a lasting impact on the truck market. The D100 Sweptline serves as a reminder that not every design choice or styling experiment works out as intended. While the world of trucks was rapidly changing in the late 1950s, the D100 wasn't able to keep up with the demands of the time. The vehicle's combination of odd styling, lackluster performance,